Hello, Scott here, and this is Mastering of the Mind, Body, and Soul. For your return viewers, thank you for coming back and watching another video. For all of you new viewers, this is your first time. Welcome. Hopefully, during the course of this video, you're going to see or hear something that may resonate with you. And if it does, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Today, I'm going to continue on with choices and decisions. I'm going to be experimenting a little bit with this particular video. I'm going to keep it a little bit shorter than my previous videos that have been uploaded. So what I'm going to do today is go over the 8 steps to making a choice and decision, go over this acronym and a motivational piece that I found on the internet that I thought would be appropriate for this particular lesson. Now, in choices and decisions, last week we talked about knowing yourself, your values, your strengths, your weaknesses, and being responsible for your own behavior. Basically, who are you? What are you about? And what do you do well? What do you do that's not so well? With that foundation, you can build upon the other steps. 2, recognize and define the decision to be made. Okay, what is it that you're thinking about that you're going to have to make a decision? Next week, I'm going to be talking about a choice or decision that I had to make. And that was after I had for you that have been following along from the beginning, in March, I had to have triple bypass surgery. And my bad choices, my bad decisions, created this. And once I was well enough and had gotten the doctor's clearance, I decided that, I needed to overhaul my lifestyle. And that would be getting healthier, going to the gym. And we'll be talking about that next week. 3, look at possible alternatives. Examine the information that you have. Seek new information. And what are the risks and costs of each alternative and the possible gains? So you got to look at the big picture. And then number 4, you choose the best alternative. Okay? You decide what you're going to do. 5, you check out your decision. Sometimes decisions that we make have to be altered in some way, shape, or form because they didn't take into account all of the information or the circumstances have changed. And 6, develop a plan of action. You got to have a strategy. And then 7, you got to act on that strategy. And once you start acting on that strategy, you have to evaluate the outcome and make any changes if necessary. And sometimes you're going to have to refine the decisions that you make so that you can get it a pinpoint of what it is that works best for you. Now, going along with choices and decisions, growth is recognizing the same pattern and choosing a different response. When you're making choices and you're making decisions, you got to recognize whether or not it's helping you or hurting you. And last week, I talked about God and universe and how that they teach lessons and that these lessons keep repeating themselves if you don't learn from them. It may be given to you in a slightly different way than you experienced the last time. But if you don't learn from that or you don't progress from that, it's going to keep going on like a merry-go-round that never stops. And you have to learn from your mistakes. So my acronym for this week is mindset. It's all about your mindset and what you want to accomplish, what it is that you want to ultimately do. And we start with learn from mistakes. That's the first letter to mindset. Yeah, we talked about that just a moment ago. And that's where the wise man, the smart man, and the fool comes into play. I've talked about that in previous videos, but the wise man learns from mistakes of others. A smart man learns from his own, but a fool never learns. He continues to moan and groan. You know, it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if you go over to that wall and you start banging your head against that wall, you know, it's eventually going to start hurting. And you may eventually knock yourself slap out. And if I'm watching that and I see that, I'm going to say, yeah, that's not for me. But if I'm the one that's going through that, and once I regain consciousness, I wake up and I said, you know what? That probably wasn't the best idea. So I'm not going to do that again. So I became a smart man. I learned from my own. But if I'm a fool, I'm going to get back up and go over to that wall again and start banging my head up against that wall, knowing what had happened the first time around. So I'm getting the same lesson repeated to me again. And I'm going to experience the same pain that I experienced the first time around. So I got to learn from that mistake. And then always keep improving, the I. You know, you can always become a better version of yourself. Don't think because, you know, your life has gotten better, as maybe it's gotten a little easier, that you still can't make some little tweaks and adjustments and become better for that. And I will be number one. That's the end. You know, you gotta take care of yourself. You know, sadly to say, this is a dog eat dog world, and you know, not many people are going to be looking out for you, so you have to look for yourself. And then the S for the stay determined, for the D. And that means simply that you can't give up when things are not going your way, or the plan has not really worked out the way you had imagined. And then the S, I will succeed. You know, consistent, small, everyday improvements guarantee success. And E, wake up early and exercise. Yeah, you're not going to gain much by sleeping all day. You've got to get up and start your day, do what it is that you have to do. And then the T, always be thankful. Be thankful for the little things in life. I mean, sometimes, we get so wrapped up that the minor and minuscule things that we need to be thankful for, we overlook. And then somebody else looking from the outside in sees that, and they wish, they had what we had, but we've taken that for granted. Okay, in closing today, as I always say, um, I believe in you. I want you to believe in yourself. And I want you to know that working together, teamwork does make the dream work. Believe it to achieve it. Yeah, you got to have belief in yourself. Sometimes nobody believes in you. You have to just believe in yourself. And then do an act of kindness today. Something I talk about each and every week because I feel that's very important. Because there's a lot of people out there in this world today that are hurting, that need some encouragement, and that smile or that hello or that helping hand may make all the difference in the world to that person. And with that, I would like to say to you, may God bless you and much love and light.